Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, crocheting, and always all of the yarny goodness that I love. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back to spend some time with me. And if you're new, thank you so much for checking this channel out. I hope you enjoy this episode. Today is Monday, April 15th, and I am coming to you from my home in Nebraska. All right, I have a finished object to share with you today. I have a half object to share, and then some works in progress. So we will go ahead and get started. All of the patterns that I talk about will be linked in the show notes down below. All right, so if you checked out the thumbnail, I have a big finished object for today. This I started on April 1st and finished Saturday, April 13th. That was Saturday. So this is called the Bistro Shawlette. This is a crochet pattern by Natasha Robarge. And it was a pattern that I had purchased on Ravelry many years ago and had never used it. So I decided, I wanted to do something with this yarn. But you can see I did add another skein of yarn in. So this is a fingering weight shawl. And yes, it does kind of match what I'm wearing today. No, that was not intentional because it kind of probably clashes. But that's okay. I am very bright coming to you today. Very bright and colorful. Let's see. So a crochet fingering weight shawl. This took one full skein of fingering weight yarn, and then it took 61 grams of a second skein. So I am actually going to count both of those as out of my stash because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of that one. But this top yarn is by Granite State Yarns in the Blossom colorway. And this just does remind me so much of beautiful spring flowers. And this yarn was gifted to me by Peggy, a viewer of this channel, when we did our 12 mini skeins of Christmas swap a couple years ago. So thank you, Peggy. It worked up really beautifully. And then the yarn I added is by Hooker's Corner, and the color is Bless Your Heart. So it definitely had some of the pinks in, although it's definitely reading more like a reddish color. But even the border kind of reminds me of flowers, so a very lacy border. The body of the shawl is worked all in single crochets through the front loop, so it is a little bit slower crocheting that way than the normal way of under 2 loops. So all front loop single crochet, and you use a size I hook for the body. So you can see it's a bigger, it's not the biggest crochet hook, but it's a bigger hook for a fingering weight yarn, but it's nice and drapey. And then you actually switch to a smaller size for the border, and the pattern specified a D hook, but I did not have that tiny. So I used an F hook, and that was tiny enough for me. So the border, going across the border and doing all of the lace, the last 2 or 3 rows felt like they took a very, very long, a very, very long time. The shawl is bigger than the pattern. I did add the shawl, it's Shawlette. Is it called? Yeah, it is called Bistro Shawlette. So it definitely was a Shawlette size, and they had like 4 sizes in the pattern, and even the largest size was about 62 inches. And I'm not sure, it's not even that much bigger, but I added 20 rows to the body of the shawl before adding on the border. And that is why I had to go into a second skein. And crochet really does eat up the yarn. So I was surprised how much of that second skein I actually used up. And when I said I wasn't sure what I was going to do with like the 40 grams that are left, this is not a sock fingering weight yarn. It's 100% fingering weight. 100 it is fingering weight. 100% superwash merino wool. So it doesn't have that nylon content that I would like for socks. So I'm thinking I could do the leg of a sock, I guess. I still like the nylon for the structure. So I'm not sure what I will do with the remainder, except I will put this into my Cozy Memories blanket. And then this color, I used up almost the entirety, and I saved the last, like, I think I had like 4.6 grams left, and I figured, well, that's not enough to go across, you know, 2 more rows, or maybe not even another row. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to stop there. And that will be enough for my Cozy Memories blanket, a square in there. So even though this is a Carla color, this is a gift shawl. So although I really do, I really do like the color. Although it's a bit, I mean, it is very bright. And most of my clothes are so patterny that I would have to definitely wear a plain, plain shirt with this. But I would wear it, you know, this way with these coming over the front. But it is big enough to do it this way too. And it's so lightweight. It's a nice shawl, I think, for spring and summer. So yeah, that's why I made it bigger, just so you would have the option of, you know, being able to drape it over your shoulder. And I love these little floral lacy, that border. I just love it. Even though I didn't necessarily love it while I was making it, I definitely do like it now. And even the way the stitches are at the beginning, at the top part of the shawl, there is a little bit of almost like a picot. It's not made that way, but it's got a little bit of a little lacy detail at the top too. So a beautiful, beautiful shawl. I'm really happy that I finally, you know, made this pattern. So I think this is a really good use of some fingering weight yarn if you're not sure what to do with it, and if you're a crocheter, I think it's great. So that is the Bistro Shawlette. I wonder if I said Betangled Shawlette, because I made that earlier this year too, but it's Bistro Shawlette, a crochet pattern. So really happy to have that. And that was only, you know, a project for 2 weeks. So it went really, really fast. So I do like that. Excuse me. I do like that about crochet, that, you know, it is quicker than knitting a shawl. Although the single crochet through the front loop was not very fun, but enough about that. So going on, that is my only finished object for today. I do have a half object, and it is a sock. So this is a vanilla sock, so plain vanilla sock, 64 count. I do 20 rows for the ribbing of a knit 2 purl 2. I do the leg from here to here. I do about 6 inches, heel flap and gusset, then down the foot for my size, and then a rounded toe. So I use the rounded toe, or the toe decreases from Kay Litton's sock patterns. So that's my go-to toe. And this is where I was last time. So this was still a lot of knitting, but this was fun. I did a big portion of this I did in the course of like over 2 days. Last week at the library, I brought this for my knitting project, and so I knit a bunch there, and I think I got like 30 rounds done at my library knitting. And then I was getting so close. I'm like, yeah, let's just keep going. So then I got through to right before the toe decreases, and then I set it aside for a while, and then this past weekend I picked it up to do the toe decreases, and now it's done. So that is, oh, I should share the yarn. This is Sweet Georgia yarns in the tapestry colorway, which I really, really like. Yeah, I really like this. And this yarn, this is the first time I have worked with Sweet Georgia yarns, and it has been in my stash. I've shared this for a number of years. And this was really, really nice sock yarn to work with. So I couldn't recommend it more. It is a very, very nice sock yarn. So that is my half object for today. So that brings us into works in progress. So I finished Kitchenering the toe yesterday sometime. And so I cast on the second sock, and you can see it is just barely a cast on. So that is like two rounds of ribbing on the second sock. So this will be a priority. I have knitting tomorrow at the library. I'm definitely going to take this. What was I gonna say? It is in this bag. I'm keeping it in this bag that I made. It's a cotton and steel print with those, you know, old-fashioned spools of thread on. So I really think that's fun, and it's got pink polka dot fabric inside. So that's a bag I had sewn a long time ago, but kind of the perfect little sock size. So that just gets tossed around in my bags when I go to work, or tossed in my purse when we go places. So anxious to put some more work on that second sock and really get that going. My next work in progress. So I really have limited my projects so I can see some finishes, and yeah. So my next work in progress is my Sand Dunes project bag by Simplie Bound. And I showed this the last time. It had been started the last time, and where that little stitch marker, I had just, that started last time. And so I have done quite a bit on this pattern. So this is supposed to be a project bag when you're done. So you do the length, and then you will eventually fold it in half. It's a little short right now. Fold it in half and seam it up, and then you will add straps. The yarn that I am using is Berroco Pima cotton. It is a beautiful drapey cotton. Color number 841 in the Alyssum colorway. They only have color numbers on the yarn label, but I looked up the color name, and it is Alyssum, which is a flower. So a lovely, lovely pinky color. I did share last time for a project bag, you know, this is very, you know, there are holes there. So if I were using, well, either for crochet or knitting, you know, my hook would be falling out, my needles would be poking through. So someone suggested, why don't you line it? So I have never made a fabric liner for a bag, but I dug around a little bit looking up some tutorials, and it does not look hard at all. So I am going to add a fabric liner to this eventually when it is finished. So I have 2 skeins of this yarn, and this is what I have left of the first one. So you can see I'm definitely almost done with that first cake of yarn, and then there is the second one. According to the pattern, I probably have, let's see, about 60 rows left to go. And it is a very easy lace pattern, but you kind of do have to pay attention. And so I have found myself a couple times not really paying attention to where, you know, my yarn overs go. So I have had to rip out sometimes, but you can see I have made significant progress. For the first couple days after the last podcast, I would do one day putting time into my, you know, this project, and then I would have the next day I would put work into this project. And so I was alternating, like my daytime focus was the bag, the next daytime focus was the shawl, and I alternated a little bit. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and finish this to, you know, to have that project complete. So this will be my focus now coming up, will be to finish this, which I don't think will take too long. And I have looked at my fabric stash to see about a liner, and I think I do have like a pale blue with flowers that I might use, but stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Again, I think I said this last time, but this cotton would be beautiful drape for a summer top of some kind. Yeah, I really like this yarn a lot. It is lovely. And that project is in this bag by Chit Chat Knits. This is a bag that I won from a cal that she did several years ago. So I really do love this bag, Darcy. This is so fun. Perfect size for many projects. It is a bag that I grab often. So I only have one more work in progress to share with you, and it is my Cozy Memories blanket. So I hope you're not getting tired of seeing it, because this is a project that definitely sees a lot of work. And let's see, I'm just getting it where I can show you. So last time I had just started this square, so I marked that square so I would know where to start. So I have made 20 squares, knit 20 squares since the last podcast, so I'll share those with you. This is a Tippy Tree Yarns yarn in a Christmas colorway. I don't remember the color name. This was a green mini that I have used in socks. This beautiful purpley color is what I used in my love note that I held with that deep purple eggplant mohair, that sweater I finished this year. This is another Tippy Tree Yarns in the Deck the Halls colorway. These next two are Advent minis from a leftovers from an Advent that I had bought. So I know I said this past year, my pink Suburban Stitcher Advent, I did not make a project, but every Advent up until that point, I had made projects. So these went into a shawl. If you were here the last couple times, you might recognize this bright purple. I love this. This is what I made my bunny out of, my Easter marshmallow peep bunny. This blue is, it's a Nutcracker themed yarn. That might be Tippy Tree Yarns also. This square, I used leftover yarn from my Advent swap that I did with Teresa. So I did 12 skeins of Christmas swaps in 2023. And if you remember, I used each of those to crochet a square a day. Well, there is enough left over of most of them that I can add squares in. So this yarn has already been crocheted into a square, and then I was able to add it into my blanket. So that was from Teresa. This lovely speckled yarn, I don't remember who dyed it, but the color was, I think, Palomino, and I crocheted a shrug for my mom out of it several years ago. So do you recognize that, Mom? Hi, Mom, if you're watching. This gorgeous deep purple is from my other swap partner in 2023, Rosie. Got a square to put in there. This gold has some stellina in it. I believe that is a Maker's Haven yarn from a sock set. So I completed those, and then we go to the next row. These next 3 are all Advent Kit Mini. Advent Kit Minis, and this was from one of my swap partners. I don't remember which one. This yarn is a mustache yarn in a Harry Potter colorway. I did make a shorty pair of socks out of that yarn. This is an Advent Mini. This green is by Knit Circus Yarns, and I had knit a Christmas cowl or a winter cowl out of it. It was a kind of a gradiating yarn that went into this deep green at the end, so I was able to use it to make that beautiful green square in there. This was definitely left over from my Nutcracker. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that was from my Nutcracker Advent. This is another yarn that was in Teresa's swap package, and that is it. So I just barely started the next one. So I have put 20 squares in since I last podcast. I have to complete this row, and then I have one more row to go. So I have 20, yes, 20 more. Is that right? Let me think about this. Let's see, so 2, 4, 6, 7, right? Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 14. I have 20 more squares to go. So I did the math this morning. With 20 more squares to go by the end of April, which is my goal, I need to knit 1.25 squares per day. So I'm definitely at least getting that in, if not more. So I am on track. If I stay if I stay with what I do at nighttime, I am on track to finish it by the end of April. And I should say, this is a pattern called the Coziest Memory by Kemper Wray. And the idea behind it was to use like leftovers from projects to make a memory of different projects that you have made. So all of the minis in here have been used in various ways, whether they were socks, shawls, parts of sweaters. So I can look at a lot of them I shouldn't say some of them I don't remember, but most of them I do remember. And it really is a fun memories blanket. I shared last time that I do want to put an I-cord border on, and I talked about whether or not I should buy some a really neutral yarn. But then I also talked about how I have some skeins in my yarn that I thought at one point were going to be either a Kaisati, a Love Note, another ranunculus. But I've had this color for a while, and I'm just not sure that this is my color. So this is Stress Knits Yarn, who I have loved her yarn in the Accidental Gemini colorway. But I just don't think that I'm going to use it for a sweater. So don't come at me for saying I want to use this for my border. You know, this has been sitting in my stash for 5 years maybe. Because Accidental Gemini, I think she did it for her daughter's birthday. So I'm pretty sure 5 years, 4 or 5 years that I've had this yarn in my stash and it hasn't been used. So it's really quite pretty. It really, really is. But you know, if I were to use this for a sweater, I would pair it with a cream colored mohair probably. But I already have a couple sweaters in like either the peachy colorway or you know, the light pinky colorway. And so I feel like it's almost too similar. I mean, I know it's not, but similar enough to a couple sweaters I have, but just not quite the right color for me. I don't know. So I figured I would use this for my border. And Beth, I know you said, well, it's kind of exciting to think you could use up those skeins. So very, very exciting. I don't know how much of it I would use up for an I-cord border. I really have no idea, but if I could use up some of this, that would be very, very exciting. So it is an 80-20 sock weight blend. So it certainly could be a pair of socks if I have some left over. Yeah, but I think that is the plan, rather than buy yarn for a project or buy yarn for this to border it. I think I am going to go ahead and use this for an I-cord border. So I hope to be able to start that in May. You know, if things go well and I get my squares done ahead of time, maybe I will get it started yet this month. I will say this blanket was a little hard to work on this weekend. We were up in the mid 80s this weekend, and so it was pretty warm. We didn't turn our air, sorry, I fuzz on my lip. We didn't turn our air conditioning on. We're just having like 3 days in the 80s. And then we're supposed to have some storms come through, and it's going to get back in the 50s and 60s. So that will be fine weather to work on this. But I really want to see this blanket through to completion, you know, before the heat of summer really comes upon us and sticks. So that is my Cozy Memories blanket. I'm really, really excited. It is looking so pretty. I just love it so much. So the end is in sight. I'm glad I really decided to push for it. So Amy of Noble Character Crafts, thank you so much for hosting the Make 9. I was so excited to make that whip board. This is one of the projects on my whip board, and it feels so good to put this work in and see the end, a true end in sight for this. So really excited about that. Yeah, so those are my projects for today. My plans for the remainder of April, we're at the halfway point in April. I would like to, the blanket is a priority. But again, I'm doing that at nighttime because that's really mindless knitting when Jeff and I are watching TV. But finish the project bag, probably finish the sock, possibly a new cast on. You know, I haven't made a hat in a while, and I do have a couple Thea Coleman hat patterns that I had purchased this year. Both are cables, and I don't have anything cable-y right now. So I had thought about casting on one of her cable hat patterns, or I have cable socks, worst weight socks on my Make 9 sock board. Cables are definitely calling me, so I might cast another pair of socks on, but I would like to finish this tapestry sock first. Other than that, I have not been so good about doing my dishcloth crocheting, but my sister Laura's birthday is coming up in early May, and she would like some dishcloths. I texted her to ask, you know, if I've made her too many or can she use them. She said she can definitely use them. So some washcloths are definitely going to be a priority to make, you know, several for her birthday. So those are my plans for the rest of April. I may sprinkle a smaller project in there. Yeah, there was a cute flower coaster that I thought about making that would be very quick. Yeah, so we will see what I get up to. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining me today. I think this is definitely a shorter episode, but really excited to share all my projects with you and progress on my works in progress. chatter-wise, things are just really busy. This is the end of the school year, both at college where I teach and my piano students at the elementary school where I teach. So I will be completely done as of April 30th. So now is just the big push. We have piano exams coming up. We have the two piano recitals. I have a weekend where I play in there. Jenna, my daughter, has some concerts at her college that we're going to go to. My husband has a choir concert that he's directing. So there's a number of things coming up this month that are keeping us very, very busy. But all good things. I'm pressing towards the end, and it feels so good to know that summer break is right around the corner. Very, very exciting. So with that, if you stayed this long, I would love it if you could give a thumbs up to this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't. It just really helps grow this channel. My numbers are inching up, so I'm very excited to see that. Very grateful to each and every one of you who spends time, who comments. I'd love to hear what you are working on. Spring projects or whips. Love to hear what you have on your needles or on your hooks. With that, I will say goodbye for today, and I hope to be back in a couple weeks with another podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.